Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And for a few minutes, I want to talk a little bit about wide receiver Robby Anderson. Now, this is a hot topic that a lot of members of the Who That Nation been wanting me to talk about. People have been inboxing me, emailing me, asking me the question, what about Robby? What about Robby? You're bringing up everybody but Robby Anderson. A lot of people in the Who That Nation been wanting Robby Anderson in New Orleans since last season. Before the trade deadline, people wanted the Saints to try to fill that void to get that number two receiver. And Robby Anderson was a guy that a lot of people felt the Saints need to try to go and pursue. The sources turned out that the Saints were trying to get Emmanuel Sanders, but he ended up going to the 49ers. It wasn't all, bad. We ended up getting Janoris Jenkins towards the end of the season. So it was a, plus for the New Orleans Saints. But the Saints still have a huge void when it comes to that number two receiver. And Robby Anderson is a guy that a lot of people want to talk about. So the question that I've been getting asked is, should the Saints sign Robby Anderson? Well, before I answer that question, I got to give you a little backstory, okay? Robby Anderson is a wide receiver for the New York Jets. He's been in the league, I think, about 4 or 5 years. He came out of Temple University. He came into the league. He was a troubled guy, getting into trouble and stuff like that. I think Chris Carter took him under his wing and kind of mentored him and steered him on the right track. And now you look at Robby Anderson. I got the stats right here. Last season, he had 52 receptions, 779 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and a 15-yard, yards per play average. So he was really putting up some big numbers. He was a big fish in a very little pond that was the New York Jets franchise. And, to answer your question, do I think the Saints need to try to pursue Robby Anderson? Look, man, as a fan, I'm going to have to say yes, I would love to see Robby Anderson as a New Orleans Saint. I think that he would be a really good addition to the Saints. I think he would be a very complimentary player to Michael Thomas. He's fast. He has good hands. He can take the top off the defense, and he's a really good route runner. But if I'm looking at it from a monetary standpoint, as far as salary, I would have to say no. Robby Anderson, if you look at him, the market says that he's probably going to get around $12 million. And also I'm hearing stories about the Jets trying to re-sign him, and they have like $49 million in cap space. And we know that the Saints, like always, they're dealing with cap issues. So from a franchise standpoint, I'm going to have to say I wouldn't want to sign him. Look, I'm a firm believer in getting, cheap, quality players. I don't think that Super Bowls are won, with guys getting on free agency. I've always seen multiple Super Bowls and franchises becoming successful through the draft. The Saints have an opportunity to get a number two receiver because this is one of the highest rated wide receiver groups that's coming out of college. I think a lot of people don't really understand that because sometimes, we fall in love with the sexy names. We look at these guys coming out of college, and if they're not Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs or T. Higgins or C.D. Lamb or somebody like that, we think that they don't matter. But there are quality players, man. You think about some of the Saints players that they got in the past as far as the wide receiver position. Even though Brandon Cooks won the Biletnikoff Award, a lot of people weren't talking about Brandon Cooks, even though Michael Thomas was a quality wide receiver at Ohio State. But, nobody was really talking about Michael Thomas. The Saints have a way of finding diamonds in the rough. And I always look at the way that a team is structured through the draft. I feel like that's going to win you Super Bowls, not going out here and getting free agents. Now, would I want Robby Anderson? Yes. But is that the smart thing to do? Absolutely not. Okay, the Saints got bigger fish to fry. I still feel like they need an additional pass rusher outside of Davenport. I still feel like they need an additional linebacker that's not named Demario Davis. Unanswered questions in the secondary. And I still feel like the Saints need to go out here and get themselves another running back. I'm still not sold on Latavius Murray just yet. So you look at all that and what the Saints actually need. I don't think that getting Robby Anderson for $12 million and a majority of your cap is, for the wide receiver position. You got to keep in mind that Michael Thomas is getting about $20 million, I think like $18 million, I guess, if you don't count incentives each year. So I don't think that would be a smart thing to do. But I mean, if Robby Anderson ended up landing with the Saints, I think that he will be a game changer for them. But I think that you can find a guy with talent, like Robby Anderson in the draft, and you probably get yourself somebody that has a little bit more talent than Robby Anderson. This is a big draft, folks. I mean, if you don't believe me, go check out the draft grades on some of these wide receivers. You can get yourself a playmaker and a guy that can possibly be a first-team All-Pro and a multi-time Pro Bowler in the later parts of the draft. This is unheard of right here. I think you got to probably have to go back to maybe like that 2015 draft where you had people like Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Cooks and Mike Evans, guys like that, took the league by storm. But these guys are rated even higher than some of those receivers that came through that class. So I like Robby Anderson a lot, but I think the Jets are not going to let him get out of the door. But if the Saints sign him, I wouldn't be mad. But once again, I don't think that's smart. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Robby Anderson possibly landing with the Saints? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think that the Saints need to kick the tires, see what's up with Robby Anderson? Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com. Search The State of the Saints podcast. The State of the Game podcast available on YouTube as well. And also on Facebook, you can check out both podcasts. Okay, so I'm doing a video immediately following this one on Quentin Williams, man. Quentin Williams got arrested at the airport for gun possession. So I'm going to be putting that video out pretty soon for the State of the Game for all of the people that view those videos. Thank you all very much. And for those that don't, well, I will ask for your support, and thank you very much for helping the YouTube channel grow. We're about 62 subscribers right now as far as the State of the Game, but I'm appreciative of everybody, and I encourage anybody who likes sports to check out the State of the Game podcast, because I'm going to start making more frequent videos for that page coming up really soon. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?